All right, all right, all right. I am terrified of today's subject, to be honest with you. Every single time, and no matter which group I am in, and no matter what broadcast I'm doing, every time I say women are, whatever I say after, maybe with the
It's
exception
always
of beauty,
wrong.
it's always they're lining up. They're lining up with their comments. What does he know about women? He's misogynist. I mean, there's so much criticism. It's crazy. So I'm gonna be gentle today. Seriously.
Hold
Okay?
on, Jack. Hold on.
You may speak, woman, now.
I got my head covering. I got my head covering on.
You are allowed to speak. Not on my account, but the angels are watching. So you
Yeah.
gotta be.
Okay.
Those of you who don't know, Jehovah's Witnesses actually still have the rule that if a woman is to teach, she has to cover her head. So if she's going for any kind of a Bible study or anything like this, and a circuit officer accompanies her and he wants to see how she's conducting the Bible study, she has to put a head covering on. If she
And
is okay, go ahead.
in perfect circumstances, we were prepared and we had a really pretty handkerchief or something like that. But in emergency circumstances, paper towel and toilet paper would suffice for the respect.
Are you seriously did this? No, with paper towel.
I'm not kidding.
I thought you were.
No, I'm not. I'm serious. I'm
my
serious.
gosh.
There were several times we were desperate and we had like McDonald's napkins in the car, and that was all we had. And so
Wow.
McDonald's
That's
napkins
incredible.
for respect it is.
My sister would take meetings very often because we grew up in a small town and there was, maybe 20 people max would show up, sometimes less, 12, 15. It looked like a book study or something, and only one elder and no ministerial servants. Like seriously, that small. So if the guy didn't show up, right, there was no phone, so he couldn't call anybody, say I'm not coming or I'm sick or whatever. So we all got together and okay, he's not here, so my sister would just put something on her head and off we go with the watchtower, right?
Yep.
So they still have that rule, and they're not the only ones. Obviously, the Jewish people have that rule as well. So women very often would shave their heads and wear wigs because the Bible doesn't say what kind of covering, as long as it's covered. So they wear wigs. You're thinking it's their hair, but it's not. They actually have a wig covering their hair. Obviously, the Muslim world, right? They have head covering. And with some extreme cases, they even wear burqas where they're not allowed to show anything, not even their eyes. They have a veil, right? Like it's crazy. You're not allowed to see a woman. So if you're thinking the Jehovah's Witnesses were oppressive, please go to Afghanistan. You'll come back and be like, they are the best religion of the planet. Oh, maybe not that much, but you will definitely have a perspective. And I'm gonna start this off because very often when we have these discussions about JWs, there is this tendency of bashing. There's this tendency of just picking and cherry picking all the bad things that happen to us because of the wounds that we have, because of the things that hurt us. But truthfully, comparing JWs with many other religions, many more oppressive religions, especially towards women, they were actually not that bad. And what I see that actually a lot of women thrive in that environment, and they actually love that support because it's very tribal. And women love to have that kind of a community where they feel safe, when they feel like they can make connections, where they can express themselves, where they can be understood, when everybody's very similar to them. And they thrive in this. They're not kind of people who want to go out there, and fight with the competition and stuff like this. No, they want to find their own tribe where they can find connections, and including my own wife, where I woke up and she finally woke up. She's like, I woke up, but I'm not leaving. I just love the people in the congregation. I love the society. I love the support that we have. I don't think I can build it anywhere else. I mean, where am I gonna go outside of congregation? I don't have any friends. It's you, the kids, and the congregation. If you take away the congregation, what's left? You at least have a business. You go and see people and stuff like this. But me, what am I gonna talk to four walls? So even though she knew that the organization has challenges, she would not leave, and she stayed as a PMO for quite a while. So I noticed that it's very much, somebody wants to join us, but they call me messenger. I'm like,
We've
no.
got 50 people lined up to join.
Already criticism coming. So for a lot of women, it's actually thriving, and I think this is one of the reasons why there is more Jehovah Witness women in the organization than there are men. Because it's the environment basically creates security. One of the top values for Jehovah's Witnesses is security, and women are pulled towards it, especially if they don't have a man, if they don't have a family. Then that stability is something that the Jehovah's Witnesses provide, and the environment really supports them. There was one lady in our Kingdom Hall. She lived by herself. Her husband passed away, and the congregation really took care of her. I mean, we had schedule of when to go and shovel her snow. The sisters would go to her and bring her groceries, and they would take her to service. We would have a group service at her home. She had a very rich social life until the very end. When she passed away, 300 people showed up for her funeral.
Wow.
So, some people think, oh, this is such an oppressive religion. Some people thrive in that environment, and they're very happy. And I can't say that everybody's life is ruined because they're Jehovah's Witnesses. No, I think there are many people who are very happy, very comfortable, very safe in that environment, and when they leave, they often can't find themselves. It's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing, is because they really have a hard time rebuilding the same level of friendships and connections and love and support that they had in the congregation. So that's something that really pulls people in towards Jehovah's Witnesses, because they really love bomb you at first. And some women really thrive in that environment. So I'm not gonna say all the bad things. We'll mention some of the challenges for sure, but I think it's worth recognizing that some women really thriving in the environment. What do you think, Dina? Before Holly is joining, which is fantastic, but I want to ask what Dina is thinking. Yes, you. Stop it! Come on now.
We've got to lighten it up. Come on, we're talking about a serious subject, so we could lighten it up just a little bit. I think there's the one word in the one scripture that I do think is a nice word, and it was the being a compliment word. I think when the male and the female relationship is balanced, when neither one takes it to an extreme, I think the male and female can be really good compliments.
100%.
That's what I wanted to say about that.
100%. All right, we got Holly. Holly,
Hi.
hey.
Hello.
Hi.
You're outside. Where are you?
I'm on my deck. So I live on a pond.
Oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful. Show us a little bit.
But there's sunlight.
Yeah, the sun
dark.
is from
You must be
across.
on the West Coast somewhere.
Yeah, sunlight. Yeah, I live on 2.5 acres, like 30 minutes from the ocean, and we have a big pond. And I live in the guest house, and there's a big main
Beautiful.
house. I love it. I'm
Beautiful.
living in my own paradise now.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Me too. Except
All
it's
right.
I saw your YouTube with you. It was so good. I love what you guys talk about. I think it's so healthy and amazing and positive and just so great.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you said the word healthy, because that's kind of the whole point of this. We came from an unhealthy background, and we need to heal. We need to hurry up and accelerate it. A lot of healing can happen naturally in its own time, but damn, I wasted 38 years in the religion. I can't take it slow. I need to accelerate healing.
I feel that way too. I feel like so happy to be alive and so thankful for life and grateful, and I can make manifesting things happen, and I believe in the power of myself now. It's just so incredible, and my self-esteem is high, and I have wonderful female friendships and male friendships, and I can make money, and it's just so good and so different
Yeah.
than how it used to be.
Tell
when
us what's
everything was
better. Tell us
controlled.
what's okay. So before we go, tell us what did you actually enjoy in the environment of being with Jehovah's Witnesses? Let's start with something positive.
I love the community. So I really loved the community and I really loved my friends. And I felt like for the most part, everyone was trying to do good. People were good people. It just somehow along the line veered off into things that weren't true.
Right.
Whoops.
It's like,
Except it was a cult.
So
Minor
That's the
details,
part.
no big deal.
But
what were
you
some
know,
of
I
the
was very happy
challenges?
for a long time in that in the religion. What's that?
What was some of the challenges?
In the religion?
Yeah, as a woman, because that's the subject
Oh, we're
we're
talking about as a
discussing.
woman. I really felt like the women had very little voice and very little power to evolve. And I felt over time, because I was a witness from the age of 5 until into my early 40s. So, and I had a lot of friends from maybe 16 and 17, also into my early 40s, and some are still my friends. And I felt over the years, I saw the women become depressed. And so many women were drinking too much wine and on antidepressants. And most, of course, everyone is married, a lot of married people with children. And I started really questioning, like, what is happening? Like, why are we losing our joy, our contentment, our happiness? There must be something that's affecting all of us for this to be happening. And I really think, like, I left the religion a long time ago, 12 years ago, that women weren't able to fully become who they really were and who they really are. Um, and so the result of that was depression.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you think if things were to change in another organization, women would be, let's say, able to do more? They had more privileges and more recognition. Do you think that would help?
Of course, I think just basic equality. Like, there just needs to be basic equality in agency, the same agency that a man has. Like, you know, there's the agency that men have and the agency that women have, and there's so much that women can bring to the table. And I really believe that women can stay in their feminine energy and their feminine power and use their intelligence. And I really believe that the congregations are missing out tremendously because that they're not including that in the way the congregation is developed and built.
That's a
That's a
good
very
point.
valid point. Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a
good point. All
very
of
good
the
point.
years that I spent as a pioneer, there was a lot of sisters that were pioneers. And you know what? Some of them were really good teachers. Some
Oh,
of
yeah.
them had a really beautiful knack for reaching the heart, for explaining things. And then we'd go to the meetings, and I was in Spanish. I was in a really small congregation. So there was like the same 4 brothers that gave all the talks. And some of it would be just like, oh my God, not this guy again. He was terrible. I mean, he wasn't talented at it when there was so much untapped talent with the sisters. So here we are conducting Bible studies. You know, it was a small congregation. I think we only had like 25 publishers, and we'd have like 300 people for the memorial, and all conducted by female sisters.
Yeah.
Well, female sisters, obviously, but obviously conducted by females, but they were really great teachers. And the congregation really did miss out because it's supposed to be instructive. And not that guys can't be good teachers, but like you said, you're not tapping into the entire talent pool by saying gender is what determines who gets to be up on the platform.
Exactly.
I mean, when you walk into a school and you see how many teachers are actually male versus female, you'll see majority are women.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And when I was studying, my sister was studying with me when I was growing up. And I mean, her knowledge, she remembered everything, every paragraph in the book, and like every scripture, like she had all this knowledge. And then she passed the Bible study with me to somebody in the congregation, a man, and I was like, hey, you're so easy, because he was just going so he had no idea about deeper things, right? My sister would find out all the tiny little things.
Exactly.
Women are usually more thorough or a lot more detail oriented than the guys.
Yeah.
And
And intuitive.
How many guys, especially
Intuitive.
masculine men, would like to sit down with a book and study and read paragraph and let's find out what's in the scripture and let's read this question? And it's very unnatural for masculine men to do this.
Yeah, and women have like beautiful, incredible intuition.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, you know, they're trusting their intuition, like the other word is trust your gut. And for women to really be able to talk about that and voice that, it really would, I believe, the congregation would rise. But I think, you know, outside of that, when I went into the corporate workplace, I was in management at big corporations, and I sit at the table just like all the men, and so do all the other women in management at the table. And when I experienced that free form of managing style, and which wasn't based on whether we were man or woman, rather than by our department and the performance of our department and the team of working together, it was awesome. And I felt like, wow, the congregations are really missing this aspect.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought about this too. Even so, there's the concept of the teaching, but even the concept when you're talking about intuition about judicial committees and women's intuition to be able to have a sense and a knack for, is somebody lying? Are they really repentant? You know, women having that intuition, man, I wonder what that would have been like in a judicial committee versus the men who are all hardcore wanting to know the details of the event, when what you're really supposed to be doing is looking at the heart and deciding whether, trying to figure out whether it's repentant or not. Two different, completely different skill sets there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just imagine, I don't know, a 17, 18-year-old girl going in front of three elders that are like 50, 60 years old elders, explaining herself about, you know, her encounter.
It was horrifying.
It's terrible. It should never exist. I think it's the worst. It needs to go away. Like, that's just not right. It scars girls for the rest of their lives, and boys, like young people that are just trying to have sexuality, which is normal and human. And to talk about such personal things when it's already like you're trying to understand it yourself as a young person I think that is devastating for their sense of sexuality for the rest of their adult life. Like, it's just not good.
Well, and if you think about in the kids section too, I mean, a lot of times kids, when they have that kind of problem, a lot of times they'll come to the mom first because they know that mom's going to understand versus being the judgmental, you know, and then mom goes to dad and mom tells dad what's going on. But usually it's because of that nurturing part. And if the point of the judicial committee or any sort of counseling or anything like that is supposed to be to help them come to their senses or reason with them so that they can save them, man, there should be a couple women on that committee. I'm voting for that right now.
I have total issues with that whole. There needs to be women in that room too. Like, it's so imbalanced and so awkward and so strange that there needs to be either a person that's a witness to the person that's in that situation, or there needs to be women in there too. Like, it's just too bizarrely weird. And I've gone through the process.
And even if, let's say, what I actually didn't know, even as an elder, I didn't know this. If a woman cheats on her husband, then the husband has to be present during the judicial committee. But if a man cheats on his wife, the wife does not have to be present.
What is that? That's just so bizarre. Yeah.
And what actually took place in more than one time is the guy would go to the elders, admit what he did to the elders, but did not admit to his wife. So his wife never knew.
Wow.
Okay. He lied to her.
So messed up. That's messed up.
And they cannot go and tell the woman what he did because technically they're not supposed to.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's incredible that that it is taking place and still taking place till today.
So crazy. I mean, I'm so glad that I live in the world where it's more normal in that situation where, you know, even couples where one of them has had a relationship outside the marriage, the friends encourage one of the couples to tell each other, one of the two, the husband or wife. And if they go to therapists, they both go together and they both talk about what's going on. in their marriage together. So
Yeah.
why in a religion environment that's not happening just blows my mind. I'm like, wait, what?
So,
Because
ladies,
it's a cult.
did you? I mean, Dina, you were sitting in front of the three guys being judged. How did that make you feel? How old were you when that happened?
20.
Oh, me? Oh,
You were no,
you're
Dina,
sorry. Yeah.
Or I was 20. And you're
20. How did,
right. The husband had to be there. And that was like the most weirdest, most awkward, most, I mean, I was going to get a divorce anyway, but just the awkwardness of it all was, and the intrusiveness of it all was just
It's not.
horrible.
It's
Horrible.
terrible. It's not. It's private. They're private issues that
Mhm.
are between a couple in a marriage. It's really nobody else's business other than
Yeah,
they need to
right.
get therapy or they can use the law and file for divorce. Like I don't really, I really
For
like
me, it was
the
more,
religion part. I'm like, wait, what?
well, and that's what made me think about women in a committee because they didn't ask how I felt or what was going
Exactly.
on or what led up to it. What was their emotional abuse? I mean, they didn't ask any of the emotional questions. It was strictly the what did you do? How did you do it? Which
So
way
weird.
did you do it? And
Why
how
that
and
and
what
why that
time and
matters?
how many? I mean, you see how like factual and logical, which guys are really great at that, but you're not judging the details, you're judging the heart. You're looking at the heart. So
Well,
let's ask some heart questions, maybe. That would be a good idea.
I think that that's right. Yeah, I agree about that. But also, adult sexuality is private, is how I feel about that.
Mhm.
Oh,
And so
yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
no one else's business. And it's our agency as as adults, to have a private, intimate relationship with our spouse. And so, and if they wander off with someone else, okay. But it's not really
Bringing
within
people
their
into it.
in their business rights to inquire on someone's sexual activities with detail.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that is related at all to, okay, someone has had a relationship outside their marriage, and now let's just work on what to do about that. The sexual intimacy component is really no one's business.
Yeah.
And how that's related to any decision making, I don't understand that. It's the person is having a relationship, not married, and so this is the boundaries within the religion, and but the details don't matter. Like that's just not
Yeah.
acceptable. Anyway.
So, how do you find yourself now that you're outside of this mindset? What difference did that make in your life as a woman? We'll start with Holly.
What difference would that make in my life as a woman? I definitely had was able to grow a stronger sense of self and really spend time understanding who I am as a human being, myself within humanity, myself as a female as opposed to a male, and how in my understanding of the world that I live in as a woman. And I don't think that I was able to have the time or the time for intellectual curiosity while I was active in the religion. So now, because I have that freedom, I can be curious about anything. I can go to the bookstore and get a book on any subject that is appealing for me. And I don't have to worry about being judged. I don't have to worry about what the husbands think, the women think, all my friends think. It's really just for me. And in that, I'm able to really grow and evolve and maybe change my mind and learn more. So I guess if we're going to call that empowerment, that is empowerment.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. How about you, Dina?
So I've got some funny examples of that. So I spent 38 years in, and my current husband is not a Jehovah's Witness, and he is a very strong man. He is a very confident, extremely great self-esteem. He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. He's a great example of masculinity. When we were first together, I would say things like, is this shirt okay? Does this look too low, or is this skirt is this look too tight? And finally he's like, what the hell is wrong with you? He goes, wear whatever the hell you want. I don't care what you wear. Why are you asking me that?
Wow.
You're the smartest woman I know. Wear whatever you want. Or we'd be ready to make, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize how limited I didn't even realize that. I mean, obviously there's big things that we realize, but that's like a small detail that I didn't realize how much I was controlled and affected, you know?
Interesting.
Or we'd say things like, you know, we have to make some decision over, you know, what bill needs to get paid or something like that or whatever. And I'd say, oh, you know, whatever you think, honey, I'll support whatever decision you make, you know, oh, whatever you want, whatever you think is best. And he did the same thing. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you? He's like, you're the smartest woman I know. Why are you I don't want a pet. I want a partner. So, you know, make the damn decision. I don't just do it. And it was kind of like, whoa, really?
Yeah, he was
You
just
know, I mean,
putting a spotlight on
oh,
areas that we weren't allowed to do that as
growing up
women.
or being a woman in the religion in a marriage where it's in that environment, you don't realize how much you're in a box. And you know what he would say, I'd say silly things like, oh, should I pay this bill? Should I pay this bill? I don't, just do it. I don't care. You don't have to ask me everything. Just do it.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
it was the same thing with my marriage. I had to actually teach my wife to make decisions because she would come to me for the smallest things. I'm like, you don't have to ask me. I mean, my money is your money. You don't have to explain yourself for every little thing. It's like, you want it, you go buy it. You wanted this, you do that, and whatever, right?
Oh
because
yeah,
the women are groomed for a really
I'd
long
come home and
time
I'd
like
say,
that.
I spent this at Ross, and he'd be like, "What? I don't care. What are you telling?" And it was those little details, I think, that really started kind of pointing out to me how much of a box we were in, because I thought I had deprogrammed everything. You know, I did all the major stuff, but then those little things happened, and I was like, dang, I guess there's still some brain scrubbing to do because I didn't even realize I was doing it until he yelled at me for it.
Right, because we're groomed from a very young age to not decide for ourselves, and also the women are really groomed to be careful about what everyone else thinks.
Yep.
Don't stumble anyone else. Did you say something that will stumble someone? Did you wear something that will stumble someone? So somehow we start taking on the responsibility of everyone else's feelings, 150 people's other thoughts and feelings when we're in a congregation, which disempowers us. We then start
It's a
to
weight
feel
too.
like, oh, we're responsible for this whole place. And also we feel completely disempowered. So then we start walking on eggshells and start asking, like the experiences that you two are talking about, like, is it okay if I do this? What do you think? And second guessing every decision that we're making.
Yep. That was a huge relearning that I had to have, because when I talk to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, in my opinion, there's two completely separate categories. There's religious deprogramming, which is like the doctrines and stuff. And then there's lifestyle deprogramming, which is what we're talking about now. It's these little details that affect how you live your life. A lot of times they manifest themselves in how you view education, or how you view money, or how you view sex. But in the category of a woman, there's a lot of lifestyle details about, are you empowered to wear whatever you want? Do you feel like you need somebody else's approval? I mean, those little things are huge lifestyle deprogramming that we have to have when we get out.
And also all the domestic things, all the domestic expectations that are put on women. Is my house clean enough? Is my house pretty enough? Is the food I'm serving tasty enough? Is it cooked enough? Like all these kind of archaic, old school ways of being, we're carrying the pressure of all of those things. Where outside, in the real world, I'll say, outside of a religion, people are pretty open about all of that. There's not any judgment. People are generally friendly. They like you and they like us for who we are. I'm not feeling judged for what I bring. If I bring food to a party or an event, I'm not feeling judged when my friends come over. We're all really loving each other because we truly have chosen each other to be friends. And I realize, because I have the contrast, there is really a big difference. Yeah. So, yeah.
Tell me, how did you feel about this whole obedience things? Because it's always repeated so often, the women have to be obedient to their husbands. As JWs, go back in time, how you were thinking. How
Right.
did you take it when you were listening to those kind of directions?
I had a really open relationship with my husband. So we were really close. We were best friends. We got along really well. And we had worked together our entire adult lives. We always ran businesses together. So we had a lot of respect for each other when it came to our thoughts and feelings and ideas. So he never really, we kind of disregarded that. We'd just be like, no, we're
Good.
not like talking about that or addressing that. But I would see it with other people in marriages in the congregation, and I would see how that was playing out, and I thought it was disturbing. I was be like, oh goodness. Um, I don't know. It definitely affected me when I was working in the work environment when I first joined corporate America. I was in a marketing director position, and I was really quiet in those original business meetings because I wasn't used to having a voice.
Mm.
Or and so I would had like the CEO, he would say, Holly, like one on one, like you're so opinionated, you're right on the money, you're directing your department amazing, but you really need to speak up when we have management meetings. And I thought to myself, I went on some long walks, like 5 mile walks out in nature, and I thought, what is going on with me? And then I realized, oh, it's come from my domestication within the religion, where I
Interesting.
never really had a strong
100%.
voice, especially in groups of men.
Yep, 100% is so with my current husband when so I was out of the religion and I was the one that had the background in construction and real estate. And so he's like, "Yeah, we're going to do real estate." He didn't know anything about real estate, nothing about construction, anything like that. And I did. And I would notice that if somebody would ask a question, I'm the one with all the knowledge. I'm not even talking about in the spiritual realm. We're talking about real estate here, And I'd wait for him to say something. And then he'd be like, "Why are you waiting for me to say? I don't know what we're doing here. I'm just like, I'm along for moral support here." Do
Yeah.
it, say what you
Yeah.
think. And so
Mhm.
it was actually it was great for me. It was
Mhm.
empowering. He really helped reprogram all of that lifestyle deprogramming because he really did empower me to be
Mhm.
who I am and
Yeah.
access those talents that I've always had. I had to keep
Mhm.
my mouth shut so much because I had lots of good ideas and you can't say them, especially if the husband is extreme on the masculine side about having to be the controlling one that makes every single decision.
Mhm.
Here's another example. Like when I was in the religion, the third husband, he was not construction talented at all. I mean, he
Mhm.
was one of those people. I found out later, he gets a paintbrush and instantly it's like all over the walls and all over his face and all over his clothes and everything. Well, I did construction for 13 years. So when we got married and I moved into his house, it was the most hideous house paint ever. I don't think it'd been painted in like
Design.
20 years. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I want to paint the house. And he goes, "Nope, nope, you're not painting it." And I'm like, "Come on, man. This is the most disgusting house ever. I'm not asking you to paint it. I've done construction for 13 years. I can have this done in like a half a day." And so finally, I finally, after like a year and a half of living in this disgustingness, I convinced him and I had it all done right away. I mean,
Of
that kind of
course.
controllingness is like,
Of
what?
course.
You know what? Even forget the whole male and female. Can we just be human? Can I
Mm.
just be
Equality.
a capable human that's capable of
Right.
making a decision? Why does everything, even in the not spiritual realm, have to run through the one person? That's it. Well, and obviously I was divorced 3 times, so it didn't work.
Well, there's equality. There's just equality, like male and female equality.
But did you
And
feel that your husbands, two JW husbands, they were trying to make you obedient to them?
Oh,
with me, no.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, my husband didn't. He never did that.
Oh,
But
mine did
I see.
absolutely because their
Yeah.
privileges were dependent on whether I shut my
Right.
mouth. All their status, what other people thought about them was dependent on what I said, what I wore. Eh, I
Interesting.
was responsible for that, and it was a terrible, terrible thing. Because,
interesting.
what if I accidentally said something? And then I would get railed for it. Like, you should have shut your mouth. I can't believe you said something to that guy's wife. Okay, well, let me just,
That's a
put my
hard
head
way.
covering back
Right.
on
It's a
and not
really
do
hard sense.
anything.
It's really hard to live that way with so much censorship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of censorship. I do think that I would say one of the hard components was that things would happen, and I felt like if I spoke out and said anything, my marriage at home is going to be very difficult. It's going to make my life a whole
Yeah.
lot harder. And so, and I knew that that would happen with my other women friends as well. So we would tend to keep quiet about things that weren't going well or were incorrect for the family. Where I feel like outside here, living around in the real life, that doesn't exist at all. And so it levels the playing field a bit more,
Mhm.
and people have to really be choosing to be together and wanting to be together. And there's not the problems aren't swept under the rug as much. And it's a lot more of an authentic experience, because people have the choice to leave.
Yeah.
And they don't lose all their friends and family, and they don't lose all their community, and they don't lose all their finances. So people, I think, are more proactive in their relationships.
That's another good point too, because, well, I mean, obviously domestic violence is not limited to Jehovah's Witnesses,
Right. No,
but
that's the
I think that maybe perhaps women have a tendency to be more quiet about that in high control, in the
Mm.
submissive arrangement type of religions,
absolutely.
because they don't have the voice to stand up and say, you know what, that's not okay. You can't hit me. They don't have the self-esteem. If you don't have the voice to paint the house, how are you going to have the voice to stand up and say, don't hit me?
Right. That's very true. And also, there's not the tools. So I notice, a lot of the women in the society we live in today know that they can Google and find help, and they can find the
Mm.
tools to find advice on what to do. Within the religion, the women are afraid to just Google help, Google some answers, go and either educate yourself or call a hotline,
Mhm.
or find some government service that will give you help and advice. So there's a big missing component there that's not healthy for within the environment itself, within in the community.
Now, I heard from many women, it could be biased, okay, but I want to know your opinion. Very often they would say, "Oh, you know what? I went to the elders for help because I have a problem with my husband, and they all turned it against me. Like it was my fault, that it wasn't me submitting enough, that I supposed to be this wife giving the dues or this and that and be obedient, and I'm the rebellious one." And obviously there are women telling me this, so it could be biased. But did you have similar experience you've heard of?
100%.
Mhm. I think it really depends on your elder body, on the people's elder body, and what part of the United States or, parts of the world we live in. So, I don't know. There's different sectors too within the religion too.
Yeah,
A more
yeah,
conservative, and there's less conservative, I guess.
It
yeah,
was.
yeah. The difference between California and New York is night and day, or the South, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course
And the
there's
elder
different
bodies. You
cultures,
can
right?
yeah,
travel like 45 minutes down the road to a different congregation, and that elder body is very different to another elder body
yeah,
in another congregation.
yeah,
So I think it really depends, which is why people move congregations, right? So they'll
yeah,
decide that one elder
yeah.
body doesn't work for them, they'll switch to a different congregation.
Mhm.
Um, but hmm, yeah, that's a good question.
I know, like from my own experience, my sister had some challenges with her husband, which she shared with me. I'm not gonna share here publicly, but she had some challenges, and she's like, "What am I gonna turn?" I'm like, "Well, go to the elders, right?" So she called for shepherding call. They came, they talked to them, and then the elder came up to me and he says everything bad about my sister. It's like it's all her fault, and I was like. She's the one that asked you guys for help, and you felt bad for
Right.
him.
Right.
I knew plenty of
You
sisters
know what I mean?
where that happened
It just
too,
felt so weird.
and myself. If there's a problem, it's almost always because you're not submissive enough, you're rocking the boat too much, and that I would absolutely agree with that 100%.
I'm not saying it's always like this, but I noticed the tendency, and from other
Yeah,
people's
the
comments.
tendency would definitely be that the women are wrong and the men are right. That is definitely the tendency. That there's
I think
something
you're
wrong
right
with
on
the
that one.
woman and the guy's fine. Yeah.
But that's only because you have head covering. Lena is
Yeah,
gonna
or
be annoyed.
somebody, or you know,
I got mine
Eve
on.
sinned, therefore we're all condemned. We're all wrong.
Well, it's kind of the basic, it's the foundation of the teaching, right? So if there's Adam and Eve, and it's Eve that seduced the man, and her, her rational thinking was messed up, and it's
Yes,
always been now throughout the dawn of time in the story of this religion, it's been the woman's fault from the get-go.
Yeah.
that is
Whether
very
that's
true.
the underlying experience thing or not, it's there subconsciously.
Yeah.
Like we are the evildoers. We are the
Yep.
ones that which made all of humankind imperfect.
You're the Jezebel.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it is true. There is definitely tendencies. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously not everywhere in the Bible, but there are tendencies in the Bible to actually show that everything was good until the woman showed up,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and everything changed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate. No, I think
So,
also something that's really nice is if women were able to, go back to work and be in the workplace and find something that they're really good at and start earning money at that, our self-esteem really rises and our sense of independence rises. And it's such a beautiful thing to see happen and to experience. So I would like to see that happening a lot more, within the religion and also for women in general. I'm sure that you guys both have seen that happen.
mhm.
Mhm.
What
You
would
know,
you? I would ask you this: what advice would you give to women who maybe too afraid to step outside of that box because they're thinking, where am I gonna go? Like, this is my community, this is my safety, this is all that I know, and if I leave, who am I don't have the strength like the guys, and I can't take care of myself. This was a source of her feeling safe, and outside is a very scary place, especially for a woman. What advice would you give them?
We have
run
already
away,
done the
get out.
scariest things. The scariest things is to go to door with a religion to people's
Oh,
houses and knock on the door and try to tell them your religion, or stand in a public place with a stand with all of your literature material. We've already done the most scariest thing. So anything else outside of that is easy street. Um, because the
interesting.
world is already a pretty nice place. The work environment is actually a pretty nice place, and people are very accepting. So I encourage everyone to do it.
I would also say too that you might stay in the religion because it feels comfortable for your community, but you don't know who you are. You don't know your talents and gifts.
Mhm.
You have no idea the strengths that you
Mhm.
really have.
Mhm.
So, what you're trading for the safety and comfort and community, which are external things that you can replace, the price for that is your soul. You don't even know who you are. And I mean, like for me, I have blossomed so much as a
Yeah, we
person.
all
I
do.
mean,
Yeah.
intellectually, I've always loved reading and everything, but I always kind of like had to keep it, I never really had anybody to talk about it with, or I couldn't really share it or brainstorm what I'm learning, not in a spiritual aspect, but even like on other topics and stuff. And now I can just explode with what I've learned and share and stuff like that. When I left the religion, guess what? I found out I was really freaking funny.
You are funny and so smart.
I wasn't in the religion. I wasn't in the religion because I had a lot of comedy is saying kind of controversial things or, kind of off the wall things And you can't do that in the religion. So when I come out, I found out I'm actually a pretty funny, cool person.
You are.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, it's true. Well, we're not censored any longer. Like, so we're not worried about that.
Exactly.
Do you find that it's easier for women to ask for help versus guys?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of help. I know, like, throughout the years, I would have women friends within the congregations, and they were suffering within their marriages, within themselves, within their pursuits in life. They were putting their entire lives on hold for the future paradise. And the biggest part was they didn't know how to even find the tools to even like get started. And it didn't mean necessarily leaving their religious belief or leaving their marriage. It's just finding themselves, basically. So having some sense of accountability to the life they're living now, rather than everything being put on hold for the future.
You know, we used to study this book, The Secret of Family Happiness. I don't know if you remember, probably do.
It's not a secret,
And
it's a book.
and here's you mentioned 2 keys to a lasting marriage. Now, the first key is love, and the second one is respect. With, of course, they say both need it, but there is a strong sense of, okay, the guys need to be respected and women need to be loved. I think that's actually getting reversed now, where I notice women are fighting for respect more than at any other time before. I think the women were there was a time in history when women are really respected. Like if a woman was standing up from the chair, she had all the guys would stand up, right? They would always open the door for a woman. Like the woman was worshipped by the guys, and then we kind of lost it for a while. And I think right now women are fighting for their respect again, and it's very important to recognize that women are humans just like men, and we have equal amount of intelligence and capacity. And there's tons of women who can do things much better than men, and vice versa, right? There are obvious tendency and natural gifts that we have. I would say most men are more physically strong than women. Most men are taller than women, so they tend to do certain jobs, right? That demand more physical work than women, for example. But when it comes to mental capacities and intelligence or whatever, then it's a plain field. It's the same for both of us. As a matter of fact, that they did the studies where they noticed that the most amount of intelligent thinking is done by something called a gray mass in our brain. And it pains me to say it, ladies, but you have it more than me.
Dang, Jack, that was good. You've come so far. You said that out loud. I'm so proud of you.
That's awesome.
I know it's not used against me. I never told this to my wife.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, honestly, everyone just deserves honor and respect, both men and women.
Well, and I think too that what happens is the pendulum is too swinging in extreme directions. So I think that sometimes in the religion, if you say like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much respect does the man want? Maybe he only needs like a 2 or 3. But the religion requires it to be a 10. It's like extreme. And you know what? Maybe the woman is a weaker vessel, but she's not a 10, useless, totally worthless, or useless, weak, or whatever. She's just a slightly more. I mean, I think it's too extreme.
Yeah.
Because yes, men are stronger, and yes, men want respect probably more so than women. Yes, women are weaker, and yes, women are more emotional, but it's not like crazy differences. It's, we're all still human. Like you said, women need respect too, and men need love too. It's not like this crazy dynamic, that they make it out to be.
I think, true. Like men and women, we have agency. I have agency as a woman. Someone has agency as a man, and we each deserve respect and honor. And we, in a relationship, it's equal agency.
Mhm.
And the biggest component is learning to speak nicely to one another and learning that words can wound and they can be knives and they can cut. And removing the wounding words and the blaming and the shaming and the judgment out of a relationship, and treating each other with words that are self-actuating, like talking about our own personal experience and how we are relating to the interpersonal skills of relation with the other person. It changes. It's a game changer. And there's not a fight for who is being respected and who is being loved, and it's who is being heard. It's really, it changes everything.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that more in that book when it talks about the keys. I would like to see more language more like that. Because I do believe in the saying death by 1,000 cuts.
I mean, we both have estrogen and we both have testosterone in our body. It's just biochemistry. Guys usually have more testosterone and women have more estrogen. So, of course, we're going to think differently. We're going to have different values. We're going to have different personalities. But those things change. And you will notice, especially under pressure or under stress, usually women become more masculine and guys become more feminine.
Mm,
It
that could
it
happen.
switches because
Yeah.
when we're stressed, we actually our biochemistry switches, and then we have women will get boost of
Adrenaline.
testosterone during
Yeah.
stress, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll tell the guy how it is, right? Or the guys sometimes would get whiny and stuff when they're stressed, or they're shut down because they don't want to.
Shut down, flooded.
They'll go to their
Just so
cave, right?
flooded.
And they don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
deal with anybody else. So
Yeah.
we
Emotionally
have
flooded.
we have those tendencies. I had a privilege to meet this guy. I think you guys know him,
Who is it?
John Gray. He wrote "Women
Oh,
Are from Mars" and Guys
Women are from Venus.
Women Are
yeah.
from Women Are
Venus,
from
men are
Venus.
from Mars, I think.
There
Yeah.
you go, there you go.
Yeah.
Here's
Yes.
my picture.
Big heads, big heads.
There you go.
Yeah.
The book is called The Authorities,
Uh-huh.
and we shared this book together. Really nice guy. I read all his books, but I love how he basically tells us that he uses this metaphor, right? That the women are different, living on a different planet, and how we do things on this planet is not how we do things on this planet. Right? And the similarities are interesting, and how women think and how guys are think. I think it comes from that culture of gatherers and hunters that we developed for a long time. Obviously, there were some women who were hunting and guys who were gathering, but majority of guys were hunters, and I think majority of women were gatherers, and that kind of concept is still in our DNA, right? So women would love to network and talk to other women, and they discuss things because they had to discuss things in order to know which mushroom to cook, which ones to eat, which one not to eat, which berry will kill them, which one will not. It's still a problem with my wife. She goes and reads everything on the menu. Like,
Yeah.
the same restaurant that we come all the time. Woman, choose chicken. I know you like it.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot that goes on. Yeah, yes. A lot of all of that. We are different. Men and women are different. I love that. That's wonderful. It's terrific. It's a great thing.
Learning those differences, it's not learning, oh, you're better and I'm worse. It's, oh, these are your tendencies. This is how you do things. This is how you process this information. And guys are different. Women are different. And it's not that one is better or the other. It's just different ways of dealing with things. And
Absolutely.
the more I learn about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is that's how it goes, right? My wife would talk usually 2-3 times more than me, sometimes about the same subject, right? She tells me the same story. I'm waiting because I'm thinking there's gonna be a new part to the story. There is some new information because I've heard that story 3 times already, but this time something must be added, and nothing was added.
Sometimes, like that is a good point.
She just wants to tell me the story again, right? Like she has this need.
That is the good point of a big difference between men and women. Women seem to process verbally, where men process internally. So when we see that played out, and it is more or less for some women and more or less for some men. It's just the way that we are different and how we process.
Yeah.
It's just
So
what it
it's
is.
fascinating. Definitely fascinating.
What?
I find women are constantly, when it comes to at least my experience, they're constantly looking for intent. They're like, why are you doing this? Right? Like, you bought me a gift. Can you use it? Is there any possible chance that it's a toaster? You're gonna be toasting your food.
Wait a second. I buy my husband drill sets.
It's not a good thing. I'm not
Exactly.
happy about this gift, right? Because you're gonna use it. Right?
That's funny. That's
This
part of
is
domestic
why
presence too, I guess. Like things that we're doing
the safest bet is flowers, because guys will never buy flowers for themselves. They would never buy flowers for another guy. Okay, when they buy flowers for women, they're like, oh, he thought of me, he loves me, because they're for me, 100% for me. There's nothing for you here with this.
It's true. It's expressing thoughtfulness, right? So it's a way to express thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
So the idea that someone thought about us, something that appeals to me as a woman, and they got it for me, I see the sentiment behind it is so much thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
Same if I like learn what the guy likes or the man likes, and I take the time to find it, buy it, give it to him, without it being things for our domestic responsibilities like drill saws and blenders. It's that then they can appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into it. That you didn't receive anything from the gift, and that's what makes it so special.
Yeah.
Hi, honey. Here's a vacuum cleaner.
There's intent in that.
Dead man at that point. Look at the frying pan. You wanted a frying pan. You told me you wanted a new frying pan. I bought you a new frying pan, and then it's like, dang.
That's another, thinking about that and riffing on that idea about gifts. That is an interesting subject in itself, coming from, in a religion that really doesn't put a lot of weight on gifts. And then when we start really like giving gifts and receiving gifts, we realize it's really a beautiful thing. It makes you feel appreciated. It makes you feel loved. It makes you feel surprised. It makes you feel wanted. Like so many feelings come with that, both for men and women. And I really would like to see more gift giving, honestly. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be cheap. It's the thoughtfulness and the ability to receive a gift. I remember like in my early 30s, I was on a business trip in Hong Kong. And it's the first birthday that I had ever had that I could ever remember. And it was an international business trip. I happened to mention to another person from another country on the trip, it was my birthday. We went to a big Chinese restaurant, and they had told the restaurant it was my birthday, and they brought a cake, and they all sang, and I was horrified and embarrassed and thought that Jehovah was never going to love me again. And how would I say a prayer? And like so much. I was flooded with so much. What's that?
How unhumble of you.
Yeah. And my girlfriend on the trip from another country, she brought me a little present from.
Holy cow. Something happened to Holy.
She's frozen in time.
She just got speechless on this subject.
We're never going to know the end of her birthday story.
Oh,
Holly, text it to us.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
There she is.
You are.
I lost you.
And we're back or no?
Oh, okay, I'm back. Are you there?
Yes, we can hear you, although you're kind of frozen.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I had so many tears from receiving a gift. And from then on, I started giving gifts to people. And just seeing the joy of them receiving a gift. And I thought, wow, this is such an easy thing to do. And people appreciate it so much. And it was a big part of the religion that was kind of non-existent.
I think they always say, oh, you know what, we can give gifts anytime we want, anytime we don't need special holidays to give gifts. As a matter of fact, it's better to give gifts without special holidays because there's no expectation of giving the gift. And this is what we believed, but truthfully, how often did it happen?
Exactly.
Majority of people never did it or did it
Right.
very, very rarely. And
Right.
what you really kill is the joy of anticipation. So the
Yes.
kids, when they know they have a birthday and they're counting 3 more days, daddy, 3 more days. I know it's gonna. Like, they're super excited about it, and I see their joy for like a month straight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And when you take that away, it's like, oh yeah, surprise, because you're gonna give them a gift, without them knowing it's coming at random day. It's not the same. It's
It's
not
not
the
the
same.
same. And also, it's a way to make seasons of the year more fun and to look forward to. When I was so curious about Christmas when I was no longer
Mhm.
in the religion, and I really asked a lot of new friends I had about Christmas. And what I experienced was that when they had children, they would give their kids that list, like write a list of what you want for Christmas. And I was like, what are they doing? Oh, my original I thought was like, what is this? What is this place? And then I would see the kids and they were so excited to get these beautiful things that they wanted, large and small, excited. And it made their school year so much more exciting and their week so much more exciting. And they were so excited that they got these presents and these gifts. And it wasn't about materialism. It wasn't about that it was Christmas. It was a way to make life more joyful, honestly. Um, and I realized this is such a pleasant surprise
Yeah.
in the happiness that was so easily happening. And I think that that's a real true difference between the two things. And it's
Yeah,
nothing to do with craving materialistic things because we live in a materialism world and a materialistic world, and we're all shopping in Target and Walmart and these
Hmm.
stores. So, and the kids want it, we want it, we all want it, like
Hmm.
whatever there is
Hmm.
that we're craving and wanting. But
Yeah, not celebrating holidays doesn't curb materialism.
exactly, it's not
Yeah.
related at all. But it makes it more special to be able to look forward to the presents rather
for
than
sure.
let's just pull it off the shelf, throw it in the cart, and take it home and play with it. It makes life a little bit more sweet.
I
Yeah.
remember in Poland, it was actually a custom to give gifts during baptism. So if somebody got baptized, people would buy gifts for that person. And
Mhm.
then later on, they even took that away. So they're saying, no, 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 you can't do that because we don't want young people, to get baptized because they're hoping to get a gift. So then they made directions like no gift giving during baptism. So it's like any moment of joy, even baptism, which is supposed to be like one of the happiest moments,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't give gifts. The only time when you can give gifts was baby shower and wedding shower. That's the only time, or a wedding day. No other time they would say, "Oh,
Right.
you need to give gifts." Of course, they didn't stop you from giving it like randomly, but most people didn't do it, and or they felt kind of awkward to do it.
Right.
So it's to be free from this. It's really amazing to see the joy that the gift giving
Yeah.
really gives. But going
Yeah.
back to the ladies, how would you conclude today? And I want to conclude basically with some good advice to women who want to be empowered, who want to uh, move forward without the fear, break free from fear. We got Ruby also joining us, so that's awesome. Hey, Ruby.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, I've been watching the entire time.
I am so happy you finally got the courage as a woman without head
Welcome.
covering to join us.
I mean, I
Welcome.
am wearing
Now
a
we can
wig,
see
but
you.
this is just my aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. We won't call you a Jew, but
I was thinking that was extremely nice, luscious hair.
I need a wig.
Pretty.
I wouldn't have said
Word.
anything. I wouldn't have never thought.
I could use a wig.
Nah, I paid $60 for this, so it better look good.
Hey, in the Bible it says the long hair for a guy is a shame. So I'm like, I can't be shameful. I'm just gonna shave it off. That's it.
Pretty.
Oh my
Beautiful.
goodness. Yes. I was waiting since last week for this episode. I was like, I can't wait to start watching this because I remember talking to you guys last time, and I'm like, the female extra W voices is still in the minority, in my opinion,
Yeah.
at least on YouTube. Because I'm like, we need
Not
more
now. There's
women.
3 women's screens here and one little old Jack
That's
over
right.
there.
Exactly, which is why I'm so happy you decided to talk about this. And I think it sucks because if you're born in, right? Are you guys born in?
5
Yeah.
generations.
Okay, so you already know. You grow up with that mentality. There, you don't know anything better. You don't know anything else.
That's
So we can't blame ourselves for not knowing back then.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if you guys remember a little bit of my story from last time, but I was also pushed into a marriage that I didn't really want, but I had to do it to get reinstated. So even though I didn't want to do it, you feel coerced. And as a woman, you're supposed to just go along with what the men say and what the elders say, what the man says. And you don't have your own. I mean, you can think it, but you can't say it, right? So you just learn how to think these things and never verbalize them until you get upset or until something bad happens and you just have these blow ups. And then they're like, well, you're not showing the fruit of the spirit, or something's wrong with you. Like, are you depressed or something? Or do you have
Right, exactly.
postpartum depression or
Wow.
something? As if you're
Yeah.
not entitled to an opinion or a reaction, because they want to control your reactions as well.
Mhm.
And then you're like, okay, so I can't dress this way. I can't talk this way. I can't look this way. I can't walk this way. Like, literally, my mom was so fanatical that she didn't even want me talking in a certain way. She didn't want
So
me
true.
walking this
So
way.
true.
If the heel was more
We're
than
all
6
like
inches,
this.
you can't wear it.
Yep.
Yes.
If the
And that's why I
skirt
never
was
wear
over your
6 inches
knee,
heels, which I'm pretty.
yeah. And it was so, it feels like you're in North Korea or something, like a
It's a different
dictatorship, because it's like
language.
yeah,
It's a different
yeah.
language.
The having to get married is also kind of we didn't even touch on that in this episode at all. The fact that women are really absolutely nothing in the congregation until you get married and have a husband that can do things, that's really disempowering from a woman's standpoint.
Their
I mean, literally the
value.
only thing we can do is go out in service. Yeah, I mean, all of the privileges in the organization, Bethel, missionary, I mean, all of the goals that they put out for you, you got to have a husband to do it. And we didn't even go into how that limits a woman's potential in the organization. Because
That's very
That's
true. I would
very,
say,
yeah.
yeah,
I heard
I've
it
been
many
divorced.
times.
Sorry, go ahead. What's that?
I heard it many times that women were saying that the value of a woman determines who she marries, and if she's not married, her voice is like the lowest in the congregation.
yeah.
I would say that's true. I have been divorced for a long time now, over 10 years. And I would say for any friends that I know that are still Jehovah's Witnesses, they place my value on how come I haven't remarried. It's really valued on my marriage status.
Yeah.
And over the years, they've asked me, like, doesn't anyone like you? Or like, what's going on? And you must, or they blame and shame me, like, you must be angry, or you must be violent, or I must be something. Because so much value is placed on within the religion of being married.
Yeah.
And I don't get any of that anyone that was never a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Nobody says that.
The only reason I got married the first time is because I wanted to do things in the organization. I didn't want to just stay a pioneer. I wanted to do international branch service. I wanted to go to Bethel. I wanted to do things. And if you don't have a husband, you can't do any of that. So better find one who's willing to do that. Otherwise, I'm stuck. I'm limited in what I can do.
Dina, I wanted to
Absolutely.
ask you, since you know NLP so well, what were some of the disempowering beliefs that women had among Jehovah's Witnesses?
Let me see. What were some of the most disempowering beliefs? Honestly, be obedient to those taking the lead might have been one of the biggest ones. See, I can't think of a biblical one specifically, but there's a lot of self-esteem ones that are related to that, like keeping your mouth shut, not saying what you think. What Holly was mentioning about feeling like you take the weight of everybody's not getting offended on your shoulders. There's a being ultra feeling like you have to be responsible for what you wear and what you say so that you don't offend somebody. That's a huge emotional weight that nobody needs. No, we are not responsible. No human is responsible for somebody else's getting offended or not. Somebody else getting offended, that is their emotional world. That is their responsibility. Everybody is responsible for their own emotional state. And us feeling like we were responsible for stumbling a brother, or, God forbid you should look at me because my shirt's too low and that's my responsibility. Those are limiting beliefs. Those are culturally limiting beliefs for a woman.
Yes, very much so. And it's to everything. It even plays out in for me, I see it all as very superficial, because it means my value is only placed on, am I wearing a pretty dress today to the Sunday meeting? Have I been on a diet, and is my body like what everyone thinks is approved right now in my congregation? Are my shoes the correct style for my congregation?
You know what? That is so true. I used to worry so much about my wardrobe, and I don't care. I don't even think about what I wear anymore.
I don't either. And so much was placed on, like, what are we going to wear to the district assembly? And am I fitting in with what everyone is wearing to the district assembly? And am I skinny enough? And am I nice enough? And am I talking about the correct information? And it's so much pressure. And am I being like running over to the popular group and talking to them? And have I talked to the older ones? And what does my husband think right now? And what are my kids doing? And oh my God, it's just so much.
It's a lot of externalizing, being so concerned about the external world and not paying attention to your own emotional growth. There's a ton of, so I guess I'm thinking of more behaviors than specific limiting beliefs, but some of the other behaviors are absolute self-denial at for sacrificing yourself for everybody else, putting yourself on the bottom of the totem pole for everything else, so that you can support your husband that's an elder, so that you can make sure the kids are studied for all of the meetings, so that you can go do the Bible studies. I mean, our mental health and our emotional health was not even on the to-do list ever. And that is a very damaging behavior.
It was very hard for me when I first started reading Put Yourself First. When I'd go to the Barnes and Noble, let's say, and buy books about self-help. First, I had a hard time going to the self-help section. And then when I'd pick a book and it was talking about be brave, put yourself first, I almost was like, oh my God, that's such a sin. Put myself first?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm so selfish. I'm so, like, I had all these things that I called myself for putting myself first. Where did that come from?
Well, because you're supposed to be at the bottom. You're supposed to put everybody else first.
Yeah.
And if you put everybody else first, who's first? The one who's telling you to put everybody else first.
Right.
He's at the head.
Yes.
So
I actually wanted to add to your comment, Holly, about the dress and grooming. It was such an issue for them, right? Before the whole change about the slacks with the women, which is why I took high offense to the dress and grooming changes, because that was the life. Growing up as a Jehovah Witness young girl, my mom had me dressing in these long skirts up to my wrists, having it up to my collarbone, because she didn't want these men looking at her little girl. But then I'm turning into a teenager. Now you're restricting the dress and grooming, and it was all because the Watchtower said so. And now all of a sudden the governing body wants to make a change like this? No, I'm offended, because I had to grow up with all of these restrictions, and now a regular JW can just walk in with slacks? No, that's disrespectful. But when you are growing up with the dress and grooming, the strictness, they don't want you to be vain, but you got to look good. They don't want you to be looking at yourself in the mirror or just doing this for boys, but they want you to look top notch. Your hair had to be done. I had to iron every single piece of clothing. And then if I wanted to wear makeup, I couldn't wear a certain color of eyeshadow. And they would literally tell me to wash my face. Like my mother or my grandmother would be like, "What are you wearing?" And they would laugh at me and they would say, "Go wash your face. You thought you was going to go to the meeting like that?" And I was like, this is my art, or like this is what I like to do, like
Self-expression.
exactly.
Self-expression.
And they don't want that. They want you in solid colors, no logos, nothing affiliating
Conformity.
you with a brand or anything.
Right.
It was
That's a good
so
point about the makeup, jewelry. Even in some of the congregations that I was in, it was even really looked down on to have your nails done, because that's a little too attention calling. I mean, there were some congregations that were really, really particular about the dress and grooming was highly not allowed to express your personality, what you really like to do and wear.
Yeah.
It's highly policed for conformity. And
There
then
was
there's a high standard of
definitely differences
perfectionism.
between one
What?
congregation and the other. No question about it. I remember
Yeah.
when I was in the Polish congregation, it was the old style, right? Like everybody had to look the same, very long skirts, whatever. I went to the English congregation and I saw some women, and I'm like, that would never go in a Polish congregation. There is no way they could look like this.
Yeah.
And yet they were pioneers, and I was like, wow, what? How did that happen? Like ankle bracelet? No, that's not possible.
An ankle bracelet. Yeah,
They
it's so
had
true.
it,
There's a
right?
high level of perfectionism, of demand of perfectionism of
And so,
women.
yeah, some of them would have like more than one earring, and I'm like, what? Women can have more than one? That's not possible. So
Jack,
I
I got to
remember
tell you,
myself
we're
I was
reading
like,
the comments and people are really proud of you for being here with 3 women. And
I'm used
proud
to
of
it.
you,
I
Jack.
grew up with 3
Great
sisters. I
job.
got 3 sisters. I grew up with women. Okay, I'm not that terrified. Okay.
That's pretty funny. That's very true.
And they're all.
Awesome.
I was the youngest, so trust me, they trained me well.
Obviously, has sisters.
But you used to be an elder, so it is kind of weird because a guy like you would tell me, sister, please, you need to change your skirt. And you would a guy like him would say it so nicely, but then you're thinking to yourself like, I thought this was good, because you're always thinking like, I'm trying to do the best. I'm trying to be a good Jehovah's Witness. I'm trying to dress right. I don't want to stumble brothers. Like you really are concerned
Yeah.
because you really don't want somebody else
Oh,
to
right,
like unknowingly objectify you or sexualize you. So you're always trying your best, and then you'll have a guy like this guy, and he'll come to you and be like, sister, please change. You can't have that talk today. You need to change your skirt.
You know what? The
I
closing thing was fairly traumatizing. I remember one time.
Yes.
So I was regular pioneering in New York, and some of our winters were brutal. And this one particular winter, it was really bad. It was like 20, 25 below zero. It was really, really cold. And I started wearing tights, jeans underneath my skirt because it was so cold. It was so
Yeah.
cold. And then some sister complained that my skirt was too tight. Well, you think it's because I'm wearing jeans underneath because we're freezing to death. And you know what? I still got pulled in and counseled for it and told that I had to go through my wardrobe to make sure I wasn't offending somebody. Well, if my skirt's not too tight, if I'm not wearing jeans, the unreasonableness on the grooming was crazy. I don't know of any brother. What did you get counseled because your shirt was, you didn't wear a white shirt or you wear a colored shirt? I don't think the policing on the brothers was anywhere near what it was like on women.
I got policed for dress and grooming, but not for mine, but because I took sister for an interview and she was not wearing a long enough skirt. So they gave me heck for bringing a sister who's not supposed to be out there. If she shows up with a skirt like that, you don't bring her on the platform. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right. It's true. My brother was never a Jehovah's Witness, and sometimes I'd go over to his place after the meeting and he'd look at me and he'd go, what are you wearing? Because I have a long flowy skirt on and it's not body forming. And he's just like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I realized, oh wow, there really is a huge contrast in what we're having to conform to for the dress and grooming for the meetings as compared to what other people are just never even thinking about and wearing.
Well, it's
like,
what's
what?
funny too is now you're out and you see somebody out, you can immediately identify them as Jehovah's Witnesses by their insane conservativeness of their dress.
Absolutely.
So it's not like, worldly people, we're all dressing like sluts or something. It's that the ultra conservativeness of the Jehovah's Witnesses is almost, it's embarrassing. You can spot them anywhere because of how they dress. And they think that they're being, they label it as being modest and godly and sound of mind. But you know what? It looks freakish now that we look.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not making people think that I know internally in the religion, people say, oh, you're representing Jehovah God. But people now out in the world, or regular people, I'd like to say, don't look at those people and think that they're representing anything. They look at them and say, oh, they're representing their religion. And they're so conservative in that religion.
Yeah.
It's not.
I have
really
something for you.
What do you have? That's funny.
Oh, I remember. Thanks for bringing this up.
Something.
See, dress and grooming, designed by Jehovah.
There we go.
I like it.
Eve doing something, leading Adam to some bad behavior.
If Jehovah designed, made, and clothed these people this way, then that is a perfect example of how women should be wearing.
Yes,
I'm telling you.
that's the future of
Exposed shoulder. So does that.
Oh, that was definitely a no-no.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true.
Jehovah's direction, woman.
Yes.
What's wrong with you? Listen,
yes.
obey, and be blessed.
I think, I wasn't a witness for about 5 years, I think, and I had gone to a meeting, and I wore a pencil skirt, which I had been wearing to work, and I wore like a pretty top. I think I bought it at like at Gap or somewhere. And I had a Banana Republic skirt on from Banana Republic, a top from Gap, medium high heel shoes, and I went to the meeting. People were all whispering that I was dressing so worldly. And I was like, wait, what? I have on normal clothes that are just pretty and curated, and I'm looking elegant. And I had forgot the standard of, conformity, because I wasn't around all that conformity anymore for so long.
Little House on the Prairie clothes for you.
Yeah, and I was so surprised about the judgment that I was receiving, like so much judgment, so much blaming, and so much shame, like that I should be feeling shameful.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what's that?
How do you ladies feel now, like after all this being over?
Terrific, wonderful, amazing. I'm beautiful, fine, in my skin, like not judged, not blamed, not shamed. Just really choosing things for me and for the people that love me and the people that are around me. And I truly believe that, we have decent taste and nice taste. Whatever we want to be, however that looks, however we're expressing our individuality, it's fabulous.
How about you, Ruby?
I mean, I think I'm still learning because my mom had like zero style. So then my exposure from my family, because I used to travel a lot. So every time I would go to the city in New York, I would be like the New York style. And then I would come back to Florida and it was a conservative, plain, boring. And then they were looking at me like, oh, she's not bad association. Because she's right. Because she's probably influenced by the brothers and sisters in the city. And even though we're all witnesses, it doesn't matter because in this hall, we don't do things like that. So I was a little outsider. I was a little considered bad association. But I look good. Like, I didn't care. When I would go to New York, I would get my style from the city and come back to Florida looking like a 10, even though I was like a 3 in real life, like just the standard of how you look. And they didn't like that. And my mom would look at me and just like in like disgust, like, why you talk like that? And I'm like, what do you talk? This is just how I talk. What, do I sound different or something? Do I look different? So when you get that from a parent, it's kind of hard. And I didn't have any other influence even after leaving the witnesses. Like I'm still getting, like I guess I could be easily influenced because it's not like I have any like book or like way of doing things. So I just do whatever comes my way. Like I'm easily swayed. If it looks nice, sure, get it. but like I don't have an identity in that sense yet. So I don't go shopping. I don't really buy anything because then I had all these babies and I gained so much weight. And now everybody's looking at me like, why are you so fat? And I'm like, I had 3 kids and 2 of them back to back. What you mean? Of course I'm going to gain weight. like,
It happened to me too.
what?
After kids, my belly not the same. But
Yes.
I gained
So
weight.
I left all of that behind, and I'm like, I don't care how I look anymore. I'm home anyways. I don't go to meetings anymore, even though I'm reinstated, but I guess I'm inactive or whatever. So I just faded. So I don't really put that much importance on it, but it is damaging growing up with that mentality that now I'm looking at the world in a different way. And sometimes I do consider myself judgmental. I sometimes look at other women like, that's a little sleazy, that doesn't look good, you need to iron your stuff. Like, like you feel like you have these mental standards also for society. Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't like the way society looks and dresses, and they go to the store in pajamas or something. And then, sometimes you gotta like, all right, just never mind, worry about yourself, stop judging other people, stop looking at other people. Because sometimes you can go to the extreme and think like everybody has to be this way, and we're not like that anymore because we're not witnesses, so we don't have to be looking at other people's, the way they live their life or their lifestyle, or if they discipline their kids or not. And it's like, nope, that's not my problem anymore. I don't care. And I just have to worry about myself and how I look. And then
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
that's
It's a new
where I'm
way to
at.
think. Yes,
Yeah,
it's a
I'm
whole new
learning.
think.
I'm learning.
Yeah, it's a whole new way to think because now we're free to express individuality and free to we don't are not worried about being a conformist to a group. And so now we have like, oh wow, I can actually express my individuality in my makeup, in my hairstyle, in the clothes that I'm wearing. And it's very new for us when we first are not in the religion because we're so used to so much censorship by our community.
I, I think that one of the biggest challenges for women was that they're not supposed to cause any stumbling. So that was really strongly reinforced that you're allowed to wear this, but you might cause stumbling, so you're better off not choosing that dress or saying this,
Exactly.
whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they did comply, if they did whatever was required of them, the husband would have the benefits, not them.
There is
Because
that 100% that is true. And I think the implication to that is that if we are dressing a certain way which could cause stumbling, then we are not caring people. The
yeah,
underlying feeling
yeah,
of that is then as a woman in a congregation that we're not caring, we're not loving, we're something to do with our
selfish,
sense of
yeah,
spirituality was
proud,
broken because
yeah,
of we are stumbling someone from our physical appearance.
yeah.
And the two are not related at all. Like one
That's
doesn't
right.
go with the other at all.
But I think where when we leave this environment, we got to start thinking what is really harmful. If we're not harming anybody, then it's just a different expression of your individuality. That's all what it is. If you're harming somebody, then you got to reevaluate your behavior. But if you're not harming somebody and you're just different, then you're just different. And you might not like that style of somebody else dressing like that. Then don't wear what they're wearing, but let them wear what they're wearing. It's like it's their life, their style. You don't like this hairstyle, don't wear it, right? And it's a process of learning, process of coming out of this mindset that oh, you know what, we got to be a little bit more open-minded and not judge people just because they have tattoos or red hair or mini skirt or whatever it is. That's their expression of their individuality. That does not mean they're
Absolutely.
good or bad or evil or whatever. That's how they want to dress. They're not harming you in any way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Self-expression.
Yeah, but when
Yes,
you're a JW,
self-expression. Yeah.
you're
And our right
you're
to have self-expression, our freedom of right as a human being to have self-expression. That's not a
Mhm.
bad thing. That does not make us a bad person or unloving or uncaring or any of those things.
that's right.
That's a really good point because even here now out in real life, there are plenty of people, plenty of friends that I think I have that I would not have considered talking to while I was in my judgmental religious phase. You know, people that maybe, like you said, have tattoos or dress a certain way. And they're like the nicest people ever. Like they're great people on the inside. And so coming from an environment where you're absolutely judged on how you look and how you dress and you're responsible for what everybody else thinks that's brainwashing just as much as the doctrines are.
Yes, it's a lifestyle and we're taught in the lifestyle judgment, shame, blame is so the underpinnings of so much. And I had to I didn't know that. I didn't realize I wasn't aware of that until I was no longer participating in the congregations and in the religion. And then I would check myself of like, oh my God, I just judged that person. And it's not my style and it's not who I am. And I was like, where the heck did that just come from? And so once I started noticing that I was doing that, I thought, or I would feel like, oh, like, how come they don't feel shame? Or how come I feel shame? Or all these strange thoughts. I realized, oh, it's come from years and years and years, decades within the religion. So I started like paying attention to when that would come up for me and then just think, wait, I'm not judging them. And I don't feel that way at all about them. And I'm totally appreciating them. And so I had to unlearn it, notice it when it was happening, unlearn it. And by going through the process is how I realized that there was so much within the religion of blaming, judgment, shame, things that are so disheartening and destroy our self-esteem. Even makes me teary thinking about it. The contrast, like it's like wow.
Even I notice this for my wife. She says it herself. It's like, oh, when I think about myself, how I was as a JW, I didn't have any voice. Now I do. Believe me, I noticed.
I'm not sure how that is for you.
Not everything was an upgrade. No, I'm very glad that she is a lot more authentic and she expresses herself naturally. And when she swears, I absolutely love it. Seriously, I do, because I feel like she's real. She's real. She's authentic. She's like, if something is down in the basement, it comes out as a real woman instead of, tiptoeing around. Should I say this? Should I say that? Not whatever, right? It's I prefer it as 100 times, 100 times better.
Sometimes those swear words are such an appropriate word. They're an adjective, and they just express a feeling or an emotion or a point. Sometimes it's perfect.
So now that Holly said that, can I swear next week?
Absolutely.
Hell no. As a matter of fact, I tell you, it was a funny story. We were sitting trying to figure out if this guy, we can recommend him as an elder. And I recommended him. I really like him. He was a really nice guy. I couldn't find anything wrong. And then one person says, well, I heard his wife saying the word hell. No, sorry, ass.
Oh my God.
Oh. Yeah. She said it as a joke to one of the kids in the Kingdom Hall. I'm going to kick your ass. Okay. She said, yeah. And because of that, they did not recommend him as an elder. I'm like, you've got
wow.
Okay. So now how does that tie back to women? She was responsible. One word she said condemned his privileges. And you know what? That is a huge weight for a woman to have to carry on her shoulder. Constantly biting your tongue, what you wear, what you say, what you do, reflects on, the man.
I think what bothered me the most out of this and many other situations is that the elders would never tell why the person was not chosen. So this guy was, I'm thinking, expecting his privilege, but no decision. So he's waiting and no announcement, and he doesn't know why.
Not knowing what he can improve on. It's his wife's language.
That's right.
Terrible.
That's right. Because when you think about it, it was a really exemplary couple, really nice couple.
Yeah.
One of my favorites in the congregation. And because of that one moment, one sentence that this guy probably had some personal issues with, he got appointed 6 months later, but that pushed it 6 months because of that one incident, because of his wife, what she said. I'm like, really?
That's what I don't understand. Like, why withholding self-development in a particular community from someone? How is that expressing higher love? How is that all encompassing for a loving community? Withholding things from people, I don't understand that. That to me like boggles my mind. And then the fact that women could be the problem for someone's self-development, let's say the husband, who this is his everything in this community. What that all that stuff to me is just so it blows my mind. I'm just like, what are we talking about here? And it's not a loving way to live for any sort of humanity or any sort of community. It's just no.
You wouldn't go back?
That's why we all left.
What?
That's why we all left.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
like I had pioneer wife friends whose husbands became elders, I guess, throughout decades of time. And they were so worried because they were a pioneer to pretty much breathe. I mean, like, oh my God, their list of don'ts became so long that they had actually no identity outside of being a pioneer because they had been shamed, blamed, judged for almost every single thing that they had done until they had lost their entire sense of self. And the last thing they had to hold on to was that they were a pioneer. And I was like, wow.
No, 100%. And people think, oh, the higher the guy goes in the privileges, the better for a woman.
The more scrutiny you're under.
Yeah.
She was late to the meeting. She was early to the meeting. She didn't sit in the front row. She didn't comment 5 times. She didn't talk to the person that she was supposed to talk to. She didn't go out witnessing 5 days of the week. She didn't.
Read.
Yeah, it was so much. She didn't get along with her mother-in-law, or like, oh my God, it was so much.
I'm even guilty myself of the behavior because the elders talked to me and they said, listen, we see that you're reaching out. We want to recommend you as an elder, but we see that your wife, she's not very active in the congregation. We want to see her being more active, right? So one of the things, like, she would never answer at the meetings. She's just this very shy person that would not give comments. So like, we want to see her giving comments. Her hours are a little bit low, right? And she loved being late, like still till today, for whatever. I have to lie about what time it starts because we will never be on time. So of course, me as trying to reach out, like, we're having an argument and fight 3 times a week because she's late, and I'm like, we gotta be there early because I want my privilege, right? And I'm pushing her to do things that she doesn't want to do. She doesn't want to answer at the meetings. I'm like, well, can you prepare one comment? Just one comment, right? and lift your hand at the moment when you know he's not gonna pick you.
You sound just like my mom. Oh my God. That's how she had me. Like, I had to have the backup. Like, if nobody was raising their hand, I would have to do it. She would give me like that death stare, like, raise your hand. And I was like, I hate this. And I was always like being forced to be that kid because I was baptized. And it was only like me or maybe like a few other kids, that like maybe 1 or 2 other kids that was baptized as well. So we're supposed to be the examples for all the other kids. So the way I dressed was like a role model for younger girls. And I'm like, but I never signed up to be a role model for little girls. Like, they're not supposed to be looking up to me. And my mom would tell me to police my best friend because my friend used to wear V-neck dresses and very tight attire, and I'm like, they said, Ruby, you need to tell your friend that she needs to lift up her thing or whatever. And I was like, I'm not her mother. Tell her mother. And but how is a child telling that to adults? You know what I mean? So it's like they put the pressure and the burden on you to police your friends as well because you're baptized. She's not. So you got to be a better person, the better Jehovah's Witness, because you got to be an example for them. And I used to hate that because I'm like, this was the only friend that I had. I don't want to mess this up. This is the only person that I actually connect with, because all the other girls were, they gossip and they make trouble, and they were all elders' daughters, and nobody wants to be a friend to an elder's daughter, like, because they're gonna snitch.
Yeah,
So
that's true. I never thought
yeah,
about it, but yeah.
the culture is hard out there, and you grow up with that, and you
Yes,
turn
sir.
you turn into a teenager. And I, like, that's what I'm saying, I grew up in this. Like, I'm a witness, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, because I had to be the best, I had to be better than everybody else. And I used to tell my friend, listen, don't talk to those girls, they're gonna tell their father, we're gonna get snitched, you're gonna get us in trouble. And she was like, no, they're not, they're nice girls, yada yada, because we're supposed to be make friends. And boom, what happened? We got snitched on, and everybody had to go to the elders room. And I said, you see, don't say I never told you nothing, I knew better, I knew better. And
You are
yeah,
so fun.
like it's so hard. You got to stand up for yourself. But then you
Yes.
grow up with that, and you say to yourself, nah, I'm not gonna do that, because deep down inside that that's wrong. I shouldn't have to be telling my friend how to dress or how to look or whatever, just because I'm baptized,
Right.
as if that gives me the authority to tell her something.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, so good what you're saying. So good.
There was one really fanatical elder in my congregation, and he had beautiful daughters, two beautiful daughters, twins, as a matter of fact. And one of those twins had a crush on me. I liked her too, but not that to that extent. I wouldn't date her. And I remember it was so funny. So he's arranging who's gonna go to service with who. And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna go with this," and he didn't even think about it. And then all of a sudden he realized he arranged everybody except me and his daughter, and the only people that were left is like for us to go together.
No.
And then he's like, "Oh, okay, then I guess
I'm gonna go
Jack
back to this.
will
Sorry.
go with Rachel." And then I can see him. He's like, "No, we need to change this. We need to change. We start over."
I'm gonna go back outside.
And I'm
Wow.
thinking, okay, let's just say that I would try to date her. Okay, it would be a nightmare. It would be that, because if I cannot go to service with her in a car group because he's terrified at the idea, like, what the heck do you think is going to happen? Then I'm like, I'm not even trying, man. Because of the idea is like, oh yeah, for sure. If we do something, even if we kiss or something or hold hands, right? She's gonna snitch. She's gonna tell her dad, and then I'm gonna be in trouble. Like, no, forget it. I'll go
It's
somewhere else.
crazy. It just shows that, like, being a part of that type of community, there's so much enmeshment that everything that each person does somehow is a reflection on the family or someone, their friends. It's the illusion that there's no individuality. It's all taken away so that everyone is enmeshed together. And then it's this group think that we're all responsible for each other in every aspect of everyday life.
Well,
It's
it's because they gave us
overwhelming.
the new personality, which means we had
There you
no
go.
personality because we all had the new personality.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
I
go.
just talked about that in my latest video, and I went into great detail about that damn new personality, because I swear to God, that is how they want you to be. They don't want you to be you. You got to
Yeah.
bring the Jehovah's Witness personality and leave yourself in the background,
Yep.
because they don't like you. They don't want you. They want you out in service every single day. Drag your kids over here and be the best example, because this is the best life ever, and you know it, and it's not.
Mm.
No,
Well, the
it's
That's
thing
the
not.
is too,
marketing
like,
that they want.
yeah, it is the marketing. That's the marketing story. Is being in the real world, nobody has, like, any perception of what the inner world is of the Jehovah's Witness world. People don't have any clue what we're talking about, where we've come from, how we lived. They don't perceive the Jehovah's Witness community like that. It's not, it's a world unto itself. And so all the stuff that we're talking about is that what we've experienced internally within this religion. But so much is talked about like this is a reflection on Jehovah God, what we're doing in this internal religion. But honestly, people in the real life world have no clue what any of the things that we're talking about, and never think it reflects on their worship of their God or a God in the world. Like, they're entirely two different subjects.
Yeah.
For sure. for sure.
It's crazy. Anyway, I need to go, but it was so
Yeah,
wonderful
thank
talking
you
with
very
all
much,
of you.
ladies. It was wonderful.
Nice
I'm
to talk
so
to you,
glad that
Holly.
we had all three
Yes.
of you today, not just me talking about women, because I would be slaughtered by the end of the video. That's for sure.
No, I
know.
believe that. You would have been fine.
Yeah, okay. Right.
It's a really nice group. Yeah. Nice
Did
to
you
see
ever
all.
see somebody putting a stick inside the beehive? That would be me.
Yes. All right.
I'm
Have a
very
great
glad
evening. Night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Holly.
Bye.
Hola, Victoria.
We'll talk maybe more about marriage problems next week. And we talk about men, we talk about women. Let's talk about marriages. What's the difference between marriage inside the religion and outside the religion, and how we can help marriages now who many of them fell apart because they left, because one person woke up. How to live in a marriage where one person wakes up, the other one doesn't. That's a really tough one too, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So we could discuss this. How to raise children in a religiously divided household. That's a really tough one too.
You know what else I think might be a good topic for? I'm just kind of brainstorming out loud on live right now. Holly brought up the gift giving. You know, I hear a lot of XJWs talk about the lack of ceremony in the post JW world. We were very structured in the religion. You absolutely knew it was Sunday. You absolutely knew it was Tuesday and Thursday night. We had such a routine, and we lose that kind of when we lose the religion, when we leave the religion, and we don't know how to replace it with holidays and gift giving and structuring.
We don't know how to
life.
celebrate. You're absolutely right. We don't
That's
know
a
how
good one
to
too,
celebrate.
huh?
Yeah, we should
We
discuss
don't know
that
what
too.
to do. We're like birthday, now we don't have our meetings. Our holidays were kind of like the memorial and conventions. And so, we don't have
That's not
special
celebration.
occasions anymore. We don't
That's
have
not
special occasions anymore. And we don't know how to do specialnesses.
Yeah.
I made
Let's
that word
do
up.
And this is how we're going to end this special event. Thank you very much, Ruby and Dina, for being here today. And we'll see you next time.